Hi, and welcome to the Vulgar Display of Podcast live from the Barn Studio. You got the Mox here, and I'm joined in studio, live and in person right now. We have the guys from Intrusive Minds. Fellas, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thank you so
much.
much.
Honor, yeah, thank you.
We have Nathan, Shawn, Nate, and Dustin in the house, and we got a big weekend up ahead, and specifically tomorrow, or if you're watching this, I guess it'd be today or tonight. You guys are playing Road to Pointfest at Pops.
Oh, yeah.
Sir.
Yeah.
And you guys actually played Pointfest last year.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this is a big show. It's obviously Pointfest is a big deal. If you're familiar with St. Louis or in the St. Louis community, it's a festival that they hold every year. This year, I actually really like the lineup. It's like a lot of kind of 90s alternative bands. And you guys, and while we're on the Vulgar Display of Podcast, you're a little bit harder than that. You guys, I think, would maybe consider yourselves metalcore.
Yeah, sort of.
It's a good way to describe it. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know how us metalheads are. We love our genres and hardcore and death metal and this and this. And I know you guys blend a lot of different styles in your sound, I would say.
A little deathcore, metalcore kind of mashup.
Yeah,
Sometimes,
I'd say
yeah.
so. A little bit of like melodic stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
So, Nathan, you're the vocalist here,
Sir.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Shawn, you play guitar. Nate, your drums.
Yes.
And Dustin, your bass.
Yes, sir.
So one guitar player, Shawn, that's a lot of responsibility for a metal band, right? How do you handle basically playing rhythm and lead ish?
I mean, I have recently I just got a quad cortex, which handles like a lot of channel switches, which is cool. But I mean, really, Dustin carries a lot of like the rhythms, you know, whenever I'm doing leads and stuff. And we got a couple like little tracks here and there, like rhythm guitar stuff that's like kind of buried in there, just to think it up, you know. But yeah, we find, because I mean, our songs are very kind of like one guitar centric anyways most of the time. So it's really, yeah.
Fun fact, they were wrote with two guitars though.
Oh yeah.
It's actually been kind of not a challenge, but definitely a
Change.
Stepping stone.
change.
Yeah.
So do you play the backing tracks then?
We play with like a click.
Yeah, just a few backing tracks, maybe like in
Like one song really.
maybe a few songs.
Yeah.
Because that's you hear a lot of sometimes pushback on bands that play with backing tracks.
Yeah.
And there's differing opinions about it, and I think if it's done tastefully, I don't have a problem with it when it's the whole sound that you're hearing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, if it's just as perfect, polished as possible, then like it's not saying that it's not a live show, but I mean, you may as well just be listening to the record.
Yeah, no. Whenever you overdo it on tracks, I think it's pretty bad. But like, whenever you do it tastefully, I don't think it's that big of a deal. And that's kind of like my perspective on it. And we try to not ride around the need for those.
While we're on the subject of hot topics, AI has found its way into art and into music, and specifically, I would say there's a lot of opinions about artwork, like album artwork, and it being AI generated or flyers or logos. Do you guys have opinions on what kind of place AI has in just art in general or music in general?
I mean, definitely not a fan of it. It just takes away from the personal, connection. I mean, which is kind of crazy because I've heard AI music and seen AI art, and some of it's like,
Some of it's crazy.
I mean, it's just like
it's just like an artist sometimes.
It's crazy, but like you can definitely. I'll say one thing, more on the music side. It's like most of the time you can tell it misses that personal flair to it.
Yeah.
It doesn't really sound unique as something that was authentically created.
Yeah, and like I think that AI I think AI has its place. I think AI can be used for a lot of great things, but I think in terms of like making art that you're like presenting to people, I find it to be kind of like fraudulent. I think that art is meant to be like human, and like, again, I think AI is not really like this big bad monster if it's controlled, but I think that, because I've literally generated music with AI before just to hear what it sounds like. And it sounds really good. Like it sounds real, but at the same time it like lacks something and I can't really explain what it is. It's just like not fully there,
What was your journey to metal? And if you had like one metal song that represents you or your metal liking or your metal story, do you guys have one that comes to mind? And I'd say individually.
Someone else is gonna have to start because I gotta think of that for a second.
Yeah, honestly, you want to go first? One of you guys? Yeah.
You got it?
Unanswered by Suicide Silence was
Nice.
That's a good one.
that was my introduction to like deathcore.
Can I let's talk about that. Suicide Silence, obviously they lost their singer to very tragic circumstances.
Right.
This podcast is named after Pantera, so something similar. You know, they lost two of the brothers that were part of Pantera, and there's a lot of pushback on Pantera for, you know, continuing with the name and touring with the name. Do you guys have opinions on that?
I mean, honestly, like my opinion on it, like I think that, you know, obviously I think Dime and Vinny are like, they were very integral parts of Pantera, but I'll say like I've seen the like iteration of Pantera going around like multiple times, and I think it's great. I think it's great for like people, especially like my age, who never got to like see Pantera, and it's like, it's not fully Pantera, but I will say the people that they have in Pantera, it really sounds exactly how you would expect it to. I mean,
Yeah.
Zakk Wylde is like, he's basically Dime 2.0 in my
Right.
opinion. So I think that they did a great job with it. I really appreciate it, I think.
Yeah, and you get some of that too. I don't know if you get it as much with like Static X, you know, their singer torn with a different singer, but somebody like Suicide Silence, they've continued on. And even like, you know, if we're talking like rock and alternative, something like Alice in Chains, and some people have issues with that, but I'm sort of the mindset of you is like, sometimes we take ourselves way too serious. Like we can just have fun. Like we can just go to a show and have fun and call it whatever you want. It feels pretty good. Me and my buddies, I think, was that last summer? Maybe 2 summers ago. We went to Indianapolis and we saw Pantera. And I've seen Pantera back in the day. It wasn't that, but man, I had a hell of a time.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Okay. So I interrupted there.
Oh, yeah.
One metal song that completes like your story, your metal story.
He's searching his Spotify right now.
I'm about to do the same.
Like metal story, but definitely like.
Can you get on mic?
Oh, sorry, yeah, my bad. I don't have anyone for like metal story, but one song that I can never get enough of every single time I put it on is Transfiction by Meshuggah.
Ooh.
I can
Oh, yeah.
never get over that song. Every time I put it on, I get this like crazy chill on all the like offbeat parts.
Yes. And if we're talking machines, I think those guys are like aliens or robots or something. Their timing is just insane.
Nailed. And that the record that comes off of, they don't use a metronome for that record.
That album's
entire time.
insane.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
crazy shit.
Yeah, I just saw them live last month. They were insane.
Oh, with Cannibal on the
Yes,
Cannibal Corpse?
yes.
Yeah.
Well, I guess like for my metal journey, like it's kind of like for me, I think it's pretty cut and dry. Like I don't really listen to, you know, as much Metallica as I used to, but I mean, Metallica is the band that like got me into it, you know? And it's like, I think One by Metallica is just like the ultimate metal song. Like I think it just has everything that metal is. It has the melodic, it has the heavy, it has the insane like solo. I mean, and to think that came out in 1988 is like insane. And it's funny because the first time I heard that was I was in my school's gym for cross country, and we were doing like some kind of weights for running. And I heard that song come on, and I remember hearing the first half, and I was like, "What is this?" And then I heard like the machine gun riff, and I was like, "Oh my god! Like this is insane!" And I listened to the entirety of Justice that night, and I was like hooked. That it was like instant. It was great.
Yeah, and I'm much older than you, probably maybe twice your age, and that was a really important song to me when I was a teenager. Is like, and I think, you know, videos were more prominent back then, or at least I don't know, they played a bigger part in music being out there and being released. And the video of that with like the war scene, you know, scenes, and it's I forget what it's named after, but it was sort of black and white, and it was. I remember it was the first time you'd see a double bass,
Yeah.
like on video, and like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Even though, you know, Slayer had been doing it a long time, but yeah.
Yeah.
How about you?
I have to agree with Shawn, you know, because me and him both talked about it a lot. Like, we've had the same kind of like upbringing in metal, you know, like with those classics and stuff. But, you know, thinking back to that question, you know, the song that like really hooked me onto metal and was just like one of these things I've never heard before was Psychosocial by Slipknot, you know. Just like that same way, you know, of like hearing the heaviness and the melodicness, you know, is just like, what is this, you know? And it just, I can distinctly remember that was like the point where, you know, started playing drums and stuff. You know, that's where I started as a musician. But, you know, I just kind of like that was like day one right there, just ever since.
Absolutely. Yay for metal.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Hey.
Fuck yeah.
Hey, before you guys leave, I want to set you up with some stickers and stuff too, so don't let me forget.
All right.
We're going to go to a quick break. We're going to be back after this.
All right.
Welcome back to the Vulgar Display of Podcast, live here with the guys from Intrusive Minds and Road to Pointfest, April 26th at Pops. And you guys have free tickets.
Oh yeah.
That's right.
So if they use a code, and I'll put the code in the link,
Yeah.
and you use the code Intrusive Minds, free tickets, right?
Totally
That is
free.
right.
Yep.
Tickets.
No excuse not to go to this and support you guys. Is it a competition? There's judging there, I guess.
There's judging, yeah, and they also they definitely keep an eye on like how many people come through and stuff like
And
that.
also how
That's
the
part of
crowd
it.
reacts to the
Yes.
show. I mean, like,
Yes.
that's a huge part of it.
Yes.
I would imagine that you guys are one of the heavier bands on some of these bills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're hoping that'll give us an advantage at Pointfest if we make it there.
If I'm thinking correctly, I think there's only just one other metal band that's actually on amongst the 8 bands, and the rest. I mean, if you want me to be honest, it kind of fits this year's lineup, but it's like a lot more of like the rock bands and things like that. Alternative, and so it is literally us, and like
Message
I said,
from
I
a
think
Raven.
Message from
Yeah.
a Raven, and then 6 other bands that are completely out of our style. So it should be really interesting to see,
Yeah.
how those people that come out to see those bands will
react to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've checked out some of the other bands on the bill, and they're all just like amazing. Like seriously, I'm really looking forward to playing with them. Like these bands are like really top notch. Like they're awesome.
Right, because we also, like those styles too. We're
Yeah.
not all just, exclusively metal. We all dig that kind of thing, and respect professionalism on any round or what's the word?
Any genre, any style.
Any genre, any style, man. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about the metal genres in segment 1, and this subject has come up on this podcast before, is that I appreciate variety in a bill, right? Like I love metal, but I don't mind hearing some I don't want like 4 death metal bands in a row.
Yep.
100%.
So
You-
long.
Like you're talking about like that Meshuggah show. Well, it had Cannibal Corpse on it, and then who else?
Carcass.
Who was it?
Carcass.
Carcass, yeah.
Yeah.
So those are 3 very different bands.
Oh, yeah.
And different genres, but I would say they're all 3 metal bands.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So like that variation, if it's just the same thing over and over, and you get that sometimes with like hardcore shows where it's hardcore over and over and over. To me, it gets a little redundant. I like the variation of different
Yeah.
styles and different genres.
Is totally an art to be witnessed in the like bill crafting, like especially that Carcass and Meshuggah bill, because like they're all definitely different, but they still all probably fit that like a listener's vibe, and they're all probably in the playlists of all the people that were at that show. You know what I mean?
No, for sure.
Absolutely. And I know plenty of guys, and I'm one of them, that's a fan of all 3 of those bands.
Yeah.
But they sound very different, and they bring something very different. Cannibal was just, legends, death metal legends. Whereas Meshuggah, it like we talked about, it's like hearing a robot play, or not in a bad way, but like very, very rhythmic and time signatures and those kinds of things. What's your favorite part about being in a band? Sometimes that people just love the live show. Sometimes people love crafting the songs, the brotherhood, the whatever it might be. What are some of the favorite? What's your favorite part of being in a band?
I think it's as, for me, it's as simple as, whenever I fell in love with playing my instrument and stuff, just simply boiled down to, chasing a dream of creating something and presenting it, no matter how big or, if it doesn't make absurd amount of money, it doesn't matter. It's just specifically the art, just taking something that's from here and, getting it on here, and playing shows, of course, is like, it just adds so much. But
I will admit, I gotta say, shows for me are like my favorite part. In the middle of the show, when I hit like the china and the snare in the middle of a breakdown, and I just see everyone moving around, and my head hurts because I'm hitting it so fucking hard. It's just the shit. The whole adrenaline rush is like beautiful every time.
What about you, Dustin?
I just love playing music, pretty much.
There you go. What an answer.
Also, the live shows are pretty cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think for me, it's like I love playing live shows. That's a huge thing for me. But I love songwriting. Like ever since I initially picked up the guitar, like I always dreamt of like being in a band and like writing songs, playing live, like and that kind of stuff. Like I love it. I love just like taking something that comes from like nowhere in a way. It comes like out of nowhere, and it's I think it's like kind of beautiful in a way, like taking that and going and playing live to people, and you get to see like the reactions and stuff.
It's genuinely like the thing that come out of your brain only is kind of crazy.
It's genuinely like a very personal thing, and that's what I love about it. You're really putting yourself out there, and I love it. I think it's awesome.
One of the, I would say, driving forces behind what we do as a podcast is I love talking to artists and musicians about their creative process. To me, that's the most interesting. I love live shows. Dale, who I think you've met or you know, he was at Wiz Khalifa and Red Rocks, and then he went and seen
Poison the Well
and Glassjaw in Chicago, and then he went and seen No Cure and Dying Wish last night. So this guy and Anthony too. What's that?
He lives the life.
Yeah, he's true and true. I'm too old for that. I can't do that anymore. But so I love live shows. I love seeing music live, and I think that's how it's supposed to be, taken in.
Oh yeah.
But I'm more interested in the creative process because you guys are all creating something that becomes singular, but it comes from 4 different minds and people. Talk us through what your creative process is as far as like song creation.
I think so. What we usually like to do is, because a little backstory is, I actually used to be on guitar with him. So we all play instruments of some sort, and some of us multiple. And we like to start off with a solid instrument base to go off of, and then usually it's me and Shawn. And Dustin too. A lot of times we'll kind of get together, and I'll usually generate some scratch lyrics, and then we'll kind of go through and tweak them, Of course, and we like to kind of establish like the emotional and the aspect of the song, what direction we want to go off, kind of based off the instrumental,
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how we start, writing stuff, whether it's together or in the DAW,
Yeah. I would say quite a bit. Like, we really base our music off instruments. I would say
the guitar riff for sure. We definitely start with the guitar riff.
For sure. That's and I think that's like a lot of metal bands like creative process, but usually someone will come in with like maybe like half a song or like a riff idea or something, and then we'll build off that usually, and it's like
normally chop, push, pull, cut, do a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. But and then lyrics are added to taste, to the song, but yeah.
And sometimes we'll clash heads on stuff.
We have to get into about like 3 to 5 arguments before we get like one song done. That's normally the good creative process.
Do you, I know, Shawn, you go to college, maybe not, you're from here, but you go somewhere else, right?
Yeah, I study at Webster. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so St. Louis.
Yeah.
Are the rest of you guys local?
Yeah, we're all locally based here. I go to Mineral Area College
nice.
here, so
Cool.
I live a little far away. I live in Arcadia.
Okay.
I live.
I was down there yesterday.
Yeah, it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Real boring though. No music. No, besides like country music. That's about it.
Yeah.
But besides that, the rest of them live in. Those two live. Shawn and Dustin live in Farmington here, and Nathan's in Park Hills.
Cool.
Yeah, we're both from Farmington, me and Dustin.
Do you guys get the opportunity to get together and just jam?
All the time. I mean, we rehearse weekly. Sometimes twice a week,
We try to rehearse by like twice a week, but
yeah.
So will you come back down like when you're in college?
Yeah, I'm usually home on the weekends.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And you live close to here, right?
Yeah.
I think somebody said like.
Not far, yeah.
Is that where you guys practice, or you practice somewhere else?
Yeah, we practice at my place.
Oh, nice.
literally 3 minutes down the road.
Yeah.
like 3 minutes down the road.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to invite us sometime.
We were thinking about just walking down here, but we were like running late, so we had to drive over.
Yeah, you might have to. I mean, I guess I'm inviting myself, but have us over to practice sometime.
Yeah, that'd be sick. Yeah.
Down in the basement watches.
Yeah, very cool. We talked about lyrics. It sounds like it's, sometimes bands, it'll just be the singer or just be somebody that's the lyric writer. It sounds like this is more collaborative.
100%.
Yeah, I'd say so.
We like to all, I'll say, sometimes like, one member might, if it's going back to that songwriting process, you know, one person might kind of carry the whole idea, you know, but we always try and make sure that everyone kind of like has a, you know, agrees on everything.
At least
you know?
it's cool with what's there.
We want everyone to be happy with what we're playing, because like if we're gonna have like a live show, you know, it's like everyone's got to be into the music to actually really give it your all, you know, and you know we want the songs to work well live, you know.
We have a new single coming out in the month of May at some point, right? We're going to keep a lot of that under wraps. But when I was in a band, that was always the thing that would excite me. I mean, great shows are awesome, and connecting with people and people enjoying what you're creating was good. But making that new music, it makes you almost forget about the old stuff or not be as excited about it. Just if you wouldn't mind, just in general terms or general sense, talk about the new single and what that was like.
Yeah, so the new single, I mean, it's a song that we've had for a decent amount of time, but I think it's one of our strongest songs. It's probably my favorite song to play live. But I mean, that song just kind of came out, I think like January. I wrote quite a bit of the instrumental, and you know, we came around and added lyrics later, but that song is my favorite because that middle breakdown is just so fun. It has this awesome scratchy sound to it. I'm so excited to get this shit finally out so that people can hear it. It's going to be awesome. And, you know, everything, like the release, it all aligns with Pointfest. So I guess stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Cliffhanger.
All we'll say there.
Yeah, that's all we'll say there.
A little bit of backstory. One of my co-hosts, Dale, he goes to the same gym that you go to.
That's right.
And I don't even know, was it like you guys are wearing metal shirts one day? Like, hey, you're a metal guy, I'm a metal guy. Was that kind of how it was?
So what's crazy is, you know, we both go at various times sometimes. And it kind of started, he was wearing a Dying Wish shirt and I was wearing a Gojira shirt. And it's just kind of one of those, hey, you know, one of those moments. And then I think it was probably about the second time, you know, we just like, I started talking about music and stuff. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, just bringing up all the bands that we're going to see and stuff, like Low, the 156 and stuff, Signs of the Swarm. I just went and saw, like, you know, and just both being like, you know, having that music connection was awesome. And of course, you know, being in the gym, and it just kind of turned to like one day I saw him, and you know, this was after, you know, we'd kind of like pretty well introduced ourselves to each other, you know. I was like, hey, man, like, I'm going to show you this, you know, like, see what you think, you know, because we're kind of like getting our sort of final mix back there. And, you know, I was showing it to some people and stuff, you know, it's just kind of one of those guys. I was like, he would have a valid, you know, opinion on it. So I want to know what he thinks, you know, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah, and he liked it. And he liked it so much, he actually sent it to me and Anthony, our other co-host. And he was like, what band is this? Because both me and Anthony, we stay pretty in tune. I mean, we have to with the podcast. We stay pretty in tune with bands. And at the very least, we, you know, one of us might know the band, you know, and neither of us did. And I was thinking it was a national touring band, which to me, if I was in a band, that's the ultimate compliment. So I'm like, I don't know who this is.
Yeah,
we appreciate that
yeah,
so much.
Seriously.
Thank you so much.
And then he said, it's Intrusive Minds. And I was really blown away. It's really a great tune. And you guys have really,
seriously.
I know we maybe tried to put you guys on a show that we threw a couple years ago and it fell through or something.
Yeah, I do remember that actually.
Was that
yeah.
the Underground?
Yeah, that was at the Underground.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But, and I don't think I've seen you guys, but I know Anthony had, and he was just like, they've progressed so much in a couple years or a year and a half or whenever, because he did see you at one point, and he was really impressed too. So kudos to you. I'm excited for people to hear it.
Oh, yeah. We're very excited. Yes.
I'll add a little bit to that is, you know, it kind of fascinates all of us how much we've changed over since the beginning of the band. You know, it's just been I mean, we look at that stuff from even like 8 months ago, and it's like, you know, we'll look back and be like, gosh, dang.
Yeah, no, like we look back at like our really early era, and we're like, oh my God, what were we doing? But you know, I think like we were all like still in high school at the time, or like just out of high school. So it's like I try to give, you know, some like slack there, but you know, people evolve as musicians and stuff. But yeah, no, it is crazy. Just like looking back, like Nathan said, even like 6 months ago, I'm just like shocked. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny you guys are talking about that. This is my creative outlet and what we do now. And there was somebody on the podcast network that we're a part of that sent our first episode to me today. And he was like, what mic were you using then? I'm like, dude, I'm not even going to, it was our very first episode. I'm not even going to listen to that because I will cringe. Like, it will make me I'll get sick to my stomach.
Yeah, no, for real. The cringe is so.
That is exactly how we are, man.
Like sometimes we'll be playing like stuff to make each other laugh, and we'll like hear it, and we're like, oh my God, like please turn this off. Like it's so bad sometimes.
Yeah, if you want to make a musician uncomfortable, play their own songs with them in the room.
Yeah.
They will leave immediately.
Yeah.
Especially their older stuff, and I can relate to that feeling because that is part of the and that in my case it was only a few years ago, and you guys are talking about 6 months ago, So you think about 6 months forward or a few years from now, what's the goal here? What do we think about the future with this band?
I mean, we want to grow as big as we can. We really want to try to make we're really trying to get as big as we can. Really, I mean,
Go up.
Yeah, we really just want to keep growing as not only just size. I mean, that's a huge part of it, but just we want to grow as songwriters. We want to make our show more entertaining for people. We want people to remember us, and that's really our goal.
The show be an experience.
Yeah,
the shit, because then it has to cement and stay in everyone's mind if the show was that good. I mean,
yeah, we want to be as serious as we can. I think that's the bottom line with this band.
Well,
that's our goal.
I'll tell you what's kind of funny about that whole us cringing about old stuff is that it almost creates we're pretty critical on ourselves, we like to not be settle for the way things are. It's always a uphill battle, of us trying to look at those sets and stuff and
ask ourselves what we could do more.
Right.
Yep.
This part wasn't clean, we need to really hit this. We can't settle. And even on the same creative aspect, creating new music, it's
yeah, you can't just take the basic pattern you get at first and be like, yeah, we're gonna go with this. We have to mess with it and make it a little bit more complex.
Right.
Absolutely.
Can you talk a little bit about the local scene and maybe even name drop some bands, some local bands that are important to the scene or important to you guys, and what helps build the scene, either here or St. Louis? Because I know you guys play St. Louis quite a bit.
Number one, I think we can all say 3, 2, 1, Hard-Handed.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying. I didn't say nothing.
Never heard of them.
Hard-Handed.
They're from St. Louis. They're awesome. They really pushed us as musicians. Genuinely, they're definitely they're legitimate friends of ours. I mean,
they've always supported us the entire time, and they've heard us when we were a lot worse than we are.
So much worse.
And it's funny. I think a lot of that relationship is because they have a Shawn and a Nathan in the band as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And and they have people varying in age in that band, but a lot of them have experience in a band, and they can give us advice and stuff. And it's just we really look up to them. I mean, they're really great friends of ours. Genuinely. Yes. Seriously.
Through so many shortcomings. I think at one point our bass player Dustin forgot his bass and had to use their bass.
No, that was another band. I think that was Ending Orion.
Oh fuck, damn.
No, but on that same aspect, it's just kind of one of those friends levels of Shawn. Now this actually did happen. Shawn forgot his foot switch, and the other Shawn, who plays literally the same rig, it's kind of ironic, was I will run my foot switch to you, but then we actually found another guy that was playing that show that had it. But it's just that kind of thing, and how they've pushed us, and they're just straight up nasty, man, and just make us want to get better, and so that's all our cohesive favorite band, I'd say.
To be honest, I think this is just kind of less even just about Hard-Handed, but I think the entire St. Louis scene of metal bands, they're all just the friendliest people you'll ever meet. They genuinely actually care for making each other better, and they want to boost each other up. I don't think that this is a cutthroat scene at all.
No. It's
genuinely, it's a small scene, but it's a scene that actually gives a shit about each other, and I think it's kind of a family in a way. I would say that I know quite a few people in these local bands by name and stuff, and we're all Facebook buddies and all that. But it's like a network, you know. It's a network of like great people, I think.
I don't think there's ever been a negative like interaction with a single St. Louis band we've ever had, really.
Yeah.
We've been like talking and highlighting your band in all the good stuff. Being in a band is difficult.
100%. Yeah.
Right? Because you're taking, in your case, 4 different opinions and viewpoints and perspectives and personalities and attitudes. And, you know, I mentioned that I'd been in a band back in the day, and as much fun as we had, sometimes it was difficult.
Yeah.
What are some of the difficult, you don't have to bring up, that one time that he did this or whatever, but, you know, specific examples, but it's not easy being in a band. Do you guys agree?
Oh, for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
you're basically married to 3 other guys, you know, in a 4-piece band, you know. They're all, you have to be as close to them as like you would have like a
brothers
partner.
at that point, you
like,
know.
seriously.
All the time.
Yeah.
And your happiest and your like lowest, for real.
Yeah.
And, you know, there really hasn't been like too many challenges. You know, really like the only thing that we kind of disagree on is, you know, directions and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like I said, we'll clash heads on that. You know, one of the biggest things I'll say, though, that was, you know, pretty hard to overcome in a way was we all come from those different backgrounds, you know, like we all just kind of, you know, really only held that music thing, you know, and
Sure.
I was doing different stuff, you know, those 2 guys were Dustin and Shawn. And then when Nate came on board, you know, from a different area and stuff, you know, it's hard to, you know, just meet up with strangers that, you know, you barely know and expect to create things that are going to go over well, you know. I mean, it takes time.
Yeah.
Before you even know who that dude is, you know. And then you have to just kind of ride it out and see where it goes. I mean, that's how a lot of bands, you know, end early.
So I think the best answer for that is, you know, finding that chemistry is the hardest thing, of
course.
really.
Yeah, I remember whenever I met Nathan, it was at the show. We were looking for another guitarist, and at the time he played guitar. And I'm not going to lie to you. I think like Nathan is like a kind of person that I don't think that I would have ever been friends with if it wasn't for music. Like, if I'm going to be honest, and I think he agrees with me on that. Like, really, like, music is like what brought all of us together. I mean, Dustin I knew before the band even started, but that was still kind of like we knew each other like through friends of friends and stuff.
When I was in a band, sorry to bring my band up again, but we had very like specific roles. And if there was like a band like mom, it was, or dad, it was probably me, right? I was like the one coordinating everything and trying to keep all the peace. Is there something like that with you guys? And even like, you know, the singer always gets the hard time. You see the memes sometimes where he's just carrying out the microphone on load in and load out, and everybody else is lugging all this equipment around, right? So we had one guy dedicated to like loading the trailer up, and another guy was handling the business aspect, and then I was kind of coordinating everything. Do you guys find yourself, whether it's intentional or not, kind of falling into sort of a systematic role within the band?
Yeah, for sure.
It's sort of, you know,
I'd say so.
might actually let Shawn talk on that because, you know, Shawn.
He does pull a crazy amount of weight. He does a lot of the business.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do quite a bit of the business stuff. Not all of it. I don't do all of everything. I want everything to be collaborative in this band, you know, and that's a huge thing for us, working together on stuff. But I find myself doing like a lot of the business, you know, reaching out to people, and I write a fair amount too, and you know, but I would say that the band, like, we try our best to all pull our weight, because that's how good bands work. You have the input of 4 people, and like, if you want a band to succeed, you need to have 4 opinions that are all valued. Yeah, and you know,
Compromise.
whenever you don't compromise with people, you have a very one-sided vision, and people will feel left out. And it's just, I feel like that doesn't work in bands. I find a lot of bands doing that, where someone will just like overdo it with all this kind of stuff, and it's like, you can't do that, man. Like, you really have to let everyone shine. I think that's a big part of being in a band. Compromise.
We've talked some old metal. We got Signs of Storm, which is, I would say, a newer band. You got a Converge shirt on. What do you think about the state of metal, where we're at right now with metal? This comes up a lot on this podcast. I'm a big fan of this sort of new wave of American death metal, the 200 Stab Wounds, the Sanga Sigabogs, Frozen Souls, some of those things. And there's a lot. I mean, Dale went and saw No Cure last night. A new hardcore band, Knock Loose, is on Jimmy Kimmel, and Gojira is playing the Olympics. You know, so what would you guys say the state of metal is right now?
I think it's in an amazing state right now as compared to like whenever I first started listening to it. You know, like I said, I don't have, you know, the miles that most people do, you know, to actually be there for how the scene's changed. But, you know, I can say right now, like it's the community's been there, you know, there's more people coming out to shows and stuff. You know, and on a music standpoint, you know, it's not to say, this is my one critique is, you know, it's not to say that I'm not a fan of that stuff, but my one problem is, you know, I fear that everyone kind of tries to get in this heavy race, you know, where it's like, who can make the heaviest and nastiest thing? And it's like I said, you know, Signs of the Swarm. I mean, God, I mean, it doesn't get sometimes as heavier as that. And it's like, and no one quote me on that, and you know, with some obscure band that's
no bullshit, because there will be people in the comments going, "No, have you heard this band?
Have you heard of Extermination Dismemberment? They're doing the pinch harmonic in the sides."
Just an example, but like, you know, like that's my one problem. You know, is like I, you know, just wish that sometimes people would kind of just take it on a.
Well, I think.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think metal's so people. It's so personal to some people that we can get overcritical at times. We can, you know, sort of do the genre thing a little bit too much, and you know, get it up in the comments. No, have you heard of this, you know, obscure band? We like to out obscure each other. Like, no, this is this band. And I think that's what Dale was doing in our group text. Like, who's this band? We're like, we don't know.
Yeah.
I have a more obscure band. Here's this.
Yeah.
So it can kind of get like that. It can kind of get elitist at times.
Yeah.
But I think also, too, if you find the right people in the scene, I guess, or if you just surround yourself with the right people that just love it, like just love it. You know, I like all kinds of genres. I love country. I love rap. I love classic rock. But my metal bros are my metal bros, and we can hit up some shows. And I didn't mean for that to rap and rhyme, but it did.
Yeah.
But it's just such a community and a brotherhood. I think that if you find and surround yourself with the right people, like you guys are talking about these bands that really helped you guys along or that were important to your story, you know, so it's more than just music.
Yeah, for sure. I think that with the state of the genre, like, to be honest, I know a lot of people talk about like, oh, what's the state of the genre? And to be honest, I don't think it was ever in a bad spot. To be honest, I think it was always doing well. Maybe not in the eyes of like traditional metal fans, especially during that 2000s era of like core everywhere. You know what I mean? And it's like, and to be honest, like, I think that people who might have been unhappy about the genre, I think that was kind of elitism, to be honest with you, because I love like all metal. I think all metal was great. I mean, genuinely, if I hear a metal band, I'm like, this is great. I mean, I don't really care too much about subgenre. I just care if the music's good or not. I mean, because really, I think genres are great for categorizing, but I sometimes feel like people try too hard to put things into categories. And I feel like music is so hard to describe as it is. It's hard for me to even describe what metal is. So how would I explain what black metal is, you know, for example?
Yeah, it's something that you have to experience. You can't just state that that's what it is. You got to hear it and understand it. Join here with Intrusive Minds at the Barn Studio, and this is the Vulgar Display of Podcast. Road to Pointfest, April. Let's try that again. Road to Pointfest, April 26th at Pops. And you guys have free tickets. We're going to put the link in the description below. And the code is Intrusive Minds. We have a new single coming out in May that we're super excited about. Is that going to be part of a bigger project, like an EP or an album?
That's part of something a lot bigger. Oh, yeah.
So more cliffhangers to come.
More cliffhangers to come, yes.
Many more.
Yeah.
Is it going to be a busy summer and year for you guys?
What is it?
Is it going to be a busy summer and year for you guys?
Oh yeah, we got plenty of things lined up for summer. We got a nice amount of shows lined up for the summer that we can't announce just yet. Oh my God, but we're so excited, and it's with a buddy of ours that we might have mentioned earlier.
Okay. Anything local here? You don't have to mention it specifically. But
local, yeah.
Okay.
There are plenty of local stuff, plenty of out of state stuff.
Right. Yeah. But as far as like stuff that we actually have scheduled and confirmed right now it is just our show tomorrow and Pointfest itself. But now there's 100% going to be nothing but more things coming out. So
I'm going to put you on the spot for my very last question. And again, we're joined with Intrusive Minds on the Vulgar Display of Podcast. I sometimes ask the Mount Rushmore question of who's on the Mount Rushmore of metal. Let's narrow that down because there's 4 of you. You each get one pick. So metal god. So it could be Ozzy or James Hetfield or Kerry King or whoever. We'll go down. Whoever wants to answer first. So we're building a Mount Rushmore of metal. Who is on it for you? One single person.
Once again, I don't want to start this. Someone else got to go, I think.
You guys want to go?
Yeah.
Okay. Corey Taylor.
No, I was gonna say that. I was gonna say I would put Joey Jordison on the Mount Rushmore. For a drummer.
Bands or artists? You want us to do bands or artists? Bands?
Putting on it, 'cause do we
He was
make
just saying
band
people.
out of artists?
I feel like we should do bands. I feel
Yeah, well, let's vote.
I'm for
Bands.
people.
I'm for bands, honestly.
Let's do both.
We'll do both.
All right,
yeah.
all right.
Okay.
Why not?
Joey Jordison.
Okay, Joey Jordison.
By the way, pretty good drummer.
Yeah.
Not too bad, right?
Yeah.
He's all right.
Man, when he unfortunately passed away, I was pretty big into Slipknot, like actually when they first came out, and saw them when the album wasn't even out yet. And actually some people were booing them because it was just this whole different thing, and was like, what is this? Now we see it
You can see Slipknot influence in everything, I swear.
Oh my God,
sometimes.
yeah. It's everywhere.
But I'd kind of maybe fallen out of love with Slipknot for some years, and then when he passed away, I went back and listened to that early stuff, and I was just blown away by his drumming.
Yeah.
I don't think I was giving him enough credit. You hear a lot of people talk about Joey, but to go back and revisit some of that, his drumming is just absolutely incredible. Mm-hmm. One of the best metal drummers I think ever.
Yeah.
Before anyone steals it, you got to throw Dimebag in there.
Ooh, yeah.
100%.
Because this is the Vulgar Display of Podcast.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Do you want to hear my band and my person?
I want to hear everything.
All right. Yeah. I think probably my person is probably Steve Harris. I just look up to him as like a songwriter and just like a person. I just like seeing how his branding. He's just such a genius in terms of that aspect. He's probably my favorite musician ever. Just kind of his story and his origin, And I think kind of ties into this. My favorite band ever is Iron Maiden. So
nice.
It all kind of ties together well.
Nice. Some Iron Maiden love. I wasn't expecting that. My man, the quiet one.
I'm going to say Lars Ulrich.
Ooh.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, that's a hot topic on this podcast too, because I am not a fan. I think Lars is a better songwriter and crafter than he is a drummer.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll go with an easy answer. I'll say Vinnie Paul.
Oh, nice.
2 Pantera picks. Podcast will love that.
I thought you were going to say Dan Kenny or something.
For me, and we actually interviewed him a few times, even recently, Max Cavalera of I'm a bigger fan of Sepultura than I was Soulfly. I like Soulfly a lot, but Sepultura,
was way better.
he's up there. Ozzy's up there.
Yeah.
Just Black Sabbath in general. I don't think metal exists without that. So those are just my picks for what it's worth. This is Intrusive Minds here, and this is the Vulgar Display of Podcast, Road to Pointfest, April 26th at Pops. Get free tickets on the link below with Intrusive Minds as the code. Got the new single coming out in May, and then 2025 is going to be a busy year. You guys are on all the socials, right? Or at least most of them?
We're on all the socials.
Is it Intrusive Minds?
Intrusive Minds Official, just depends on where you go.
If you're watching this, make sure you follow all of them, and we'll be releasing this episode tomorrow when the show is going to happen, April 26th at Pops, Road to Pointfest. Good luck on that, guys, and thanks for coming into the studio today.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Thank you.